I'm going to bring in my guest, Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett is here today, everybody. She is the author of Get It Done, Start Right Where You Are, and most recently, the book we're going to talk about today, The 15-Minute Method, the surprisingly simple art of getting it done. I think I need to get it done right now. Sam Bennett is a writer, a speaker, an actor, creativity productivity specialist. She's the founder of therealsambennett.com, a company committed to helping overwhelmed creatives, overwhelmed and frustrated overachievers, not that any of you are listening, right, to get unstuck. And Sam is a popular course instructor on LinkedIn Learning with over 1 million class participants worldwide. And she happens to live in the beautiful state of Connecticut. Welcome to the show, Sam. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much, Loretta. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to dive right in because I have this lovely blue covered book called The 15-Minute Method, right? And I have to tell everybody, I'm just going to say this right up front. You should just get this book. It's a great read. It's an easy read. I love how you put it together. And also because my first question, of course, is going to be, what is the 15-minute method, Sam? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so let's take some time to talk about how you can completely transform your life in just 15 minutes a day. Here's the basics of the 15-minute method. Everybody got a pen? Okay. Spend 15 minutes a day, every single day, on something that matters to you. Ta-da! That's the whole thing. Okay. Now, how did I turn that into a whole book?
I was just going to say, Sam, that is fantastic. And I am like, yeah, we need more words around that. But 15 minutes a day on something that you love to do. Okay, tell us more.
You,
yeah.
Right? Because it's almost subversively simple, right? I mean, it seems like sort of a no duh, but here's the thing. Here's what I notice is everybody's running around telling me about how busy they are and how overwhelmed they are. And, we get everything done for everybody else all day. But the thing that really matters to us, the thing that really lights us up inside, that we love, that we know would make a difference to us, doesn't even make it on the list. That project still stays in a drawer. You don't even, you keep thinking, well, later, when the kids go back to, after the holidays, but here's the thing, life is happening now, today.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it that you're busy, and me too. Everybody's busy, right? We all get the same 24 hours and we all manage to fill it up some way. But to take just 15 minutes for something that matters to you, first of all, it is astonishing how much you can get done in 15 minutes when you focus. It is even more astonishing how much you can accomplish when you're doing 15 minutes every day for a week, a month, a year, 6 years, 66 years, right? And then there's this beautiful sort of exponential spillover effect, right? Because when you take a little bit of time to do something for you, you light up, there's your heart's a little lighter, you feel a little better, you get that, I don't know, what's a positive word for smugness? You get that little sort of delightful self-satisfaction of, the same like when you work out first thing in the morning, or when you have sex first thing in the morning and you spend all day being like, that's right, I'm amazing, how are you? Hair toss.
Yeah, no, I'm laughing about that because I was actually thinking that the other day. I've been getting up and exercising a little bit in the morning, like kind of, that's, I'm reading your book. I'm like, well, I'm gonna, I have some things to take on there. But I also was like, the other morning I was like laying in bed, myself was like, no, we're not doing that. And then I'm like, yes, we are doing that. And it's like, no, we're not doing that. Yeah, yes, we are doing that. It's like, okay, we're doing that, right? And then the rest of the day I was like, I did that, right? It really was. It really carried through the day. So yeah, it's spot on. I got a question for you. I know, and like I said, you have great ideas in your book which expand upon this, but what do we do with that part of us that really is like, no, I don't have time for this? Like I work with people and sometimes they'll say, let's just take a breath. And they're like, no, I don't, I can't even take a breath, Loretta. I have so overwhelmed, right?
Yeah. So I think it's important to recognize that, oh, this is Archie. Archie's coming.
Oh, hi,
Hello.
Archie. Beautiful.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. I think it's important to recognize that overwhelm, which is a word I hear a lot and more these days, is not an outside problem. It is not something that the world does to you. It is something that you do to yourself. So the good news about that is you have complete control over it, right? So if you are finding yourself chronically overwhelmed, you have an opportunity to rethink how you're doing things. Because, and I can prove it to you, because I'm sure some people are like, Sam, you don't know my life. I'm super overwhelmed. I get it. But we look at people whose jobs are to be overwhelmed, right? People who work in emergency rooms, people who are first responders. I was being interviewed on the local news station, and the broadcaster said, like, oh, right, like when we're covering a breaking news story or when something really, tragic and terrible has happened, it seems it's an overwhelming circumstance, but she herself is not overwhelmed. She's just doing her job, right? That person at the ER is just doing their job. I spent a long time working as an actor and especially as an improviser. And there are many people who would say that walking out on stage in front of a giant audience of people asking for suggestion and starting a scene out of thin air would be overwhelming. But for me, that was just me doing my job. So notice that it is not so much what is happening to you, but rather how you are managing what is happening to you and how you are responding. And to believe this lie that you don't have time to take a deep breath, that you don't have time to take care of yourself. And I can hear some people thinking, like, because it would be selfish, right? That's selfish if I take that time for myself. And I want to turn that on its head, because here's what's really selfish. What's really selfish is you walking around exhausted and stressed out and with no sense of humor, and the rest of us have to deal with you like that. That is selfish. That's putting a burden on us. You take 15 minutes for yourself, and again, and all of a sudden, like I said, you're calmer, you're less reactive, you're a better listener. We love that version of you. Please, please give us that version of you.
Yeah. Wow. I am sitting here, like I said, the overwhelmed thing. And I think you said that very well. I'm an energy worker, right? And an intuitive. And there is this inner landscape, right? That sometimes is so cluttered, it's so busy. Or like what I really heard you just say is that instead of finding your center, you're caught in the swirl.
Yeah.
And so what's going on around you, and this idea of overwhelmed, you're internalizing somehow.
That's right.
And okay.
That's
yeah.
Right. And that thing, the beautiful image that you just mentioned about being in the center, it's like a wagon wheel, right? If you stay in the center of the wagon wheel, then no matter how much it spins, you still stay calm and centered and able to respond. If you let yourself get pulled out by everybody else's agenda, everybody else's desires, everybody else's needs, all your should do's, now you're on the outer rim of the wheel, and yeah, you're going to get run over. You're going to feel dizzy and overwhelmed for sure.
So this 15-minute thing, like I'm with you. I can hear all the arguing voices. Wait a minute. First of all, you're trying to get me to take a breath, Loretta. Now you want me to take 15 minutes, right? Tell us more about this. You have a great chapter in the book where you have, I don't know if it's 50, 52 ideas. Like, how do we get started on this? What are the things that we do, that we can do? And what is your recommendation as to, I don't know if it's the best time or an appropriate time to do this 15 minutes?
Yeah. So I wrote the book very deliberately to be very, very wide open. So really, whatever your life circumstances are, whatever it is that's happening for you, make it work for you in your life. And if you're asking for my advice, I recommend generally doing the 15 minutes sometime in the morning, because I don't know about you, but by the time the afternoon comes, my energy's down, the day sort of gets away from me, Um,
I'm going to jump in there, but because I talk a lot, and so do you. What happens to me if I wait is I'm like, oh, I'll do that at 2 this afternoon, and then I'm like, oh, no, I'll do it at 3, and then I'll do it at 4, and then no.
Right, exactly. And
Okay.
part of the skill is a
Yeah.
little bit what you alluded to before about, making yourself get up and do the stretching and exercising that is good for your body. It's really a question of being a good parent to yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
We want to be loving and forgiving and firm, to say, sweetheart, it's time. And as to what you should do, again, it's totally up to you. My preference is always that you do something that is creatively fulfilling for you, right? And first of all, let's notice that there's two different words, creative and artistic. Not everyone is artistic, but everyone is creative. Creativity has to do with innovative problem solving, and everyone has a zone of creative genius, probably multiple zones of creative genius. It's just that thing that you've always been interested in. You've always sort of been great at it. You sort of had a little knack for it. Maybe nobody else in your family is interested in it. They're sort of like, wait, you're spending how much to go to an exhibit on what? You're going to a conference on what? You're subscribed to what magazine? Like,
yeah, the Van Gogh experience, just saying.
Right? What
Right.
is it? And there's people who were like, I can't miss, I was first in line for the Van Gogh experience. And other people who are like, the Van Gogh what? I don't care about that. Right. So it's whatever it is that lights you up. That's what I would love to see you spend the 15 minutes on. But really, anything that's going to make a difference for you. Every health and medical professional in the world is going to tell you that 15 minutes of moving your body in any way, shape, or form is going to have fantastic effects on your health and well-being. If I practice ukulele for 15 minutes a day, in not very long of a time, I'm going to become a better ukulele player. If you spend 15 minutes a day writing, you can write 200, 250 words in 15 minutes. Well, if you do that for 200 days, that's 50,000 words. That's a book.
Wow.
So where were you 200 days ago? And would you like to have a book right now? Right. So for some people, it's clutter clearing. Like they're feeling so oppressed by their physical environment and it feels so overwhelming. And that's the one where I hear like, pardon me, like, oh, Sam, I couldn't possibly, I have to clean out the entire garage. I can't do that in 15 minutes. There's no way. I need 2 free weekends. I'm like, okay, I hear you. And first of all, what 2 free weekends is that? Show that to me on the calendar, because
yeah, no,
it's not happening. And even if you did have 2 free weekends, I doubt you want to spend them in the garage. So, but like, think of it this way. What if we said, okay, 15 minutes, I'm going to make a cup of something warm. I'm going to bring a mug of tea or a can of beer or whatever it is I like out to the garage. And I'm just going to contemplate the garage for 15 minutes. I'm just going to take it in. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to look at things. I'm not going to do anything. Just soak it in. Just be one with the garage. And it may be that at, minute 11, you go, wait a minute. Those 8 boxes belong to my brother, Jeffrey. Like, oh, you get on the phone, Jeffrey, come over here and get these boxes. Right. So now you cleared out a whole corner and you didn't have to do anything. And maybe the next day you look into one of those big Rubbermaid totes that you got hanging around and you go, this is all holiday stuff. So maybe you put a little sign on it that says holiday, and then you can shove it to the back because you only need that stuff once a year. And maybe the next day you take the broken bicycle and roll it out to the curb with a sign on it that says free broken bicycle. Right. And in this way, you can make kind of amazing progress on this seemingly insurmountable task. Right.
Yeah. I love everything you're saying. You're very inspirational, and I love the way you talk. I am one with the garage. Right.
Be with absorb
I am the garage.
Right. Of the garage. What does the garage have to say to me? It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. But I also, what you're saying really resonates with me. It's just so to the point. And these little bits of time, I was thinking when you were talking about how much people are on social media and, like they'll grab their phone first thing in the morning, or it's the last thing at night. And how many times people say to me, oh, Loretta, I was just going to look up this one thing and 2 hours went by. And I'm like, 2 hours? You were just on social media for 2 hours scrolling through what is happening, right?
Right. And I love social media. I love my phone. I'm not saying give it up, but I am saying be strategic and intentional about it. Right? There's all kinds of evidence that shows that the way you spend the first hour or two of your morning has an exponential effect on the rest of your day and therefore on the rest of your life. So maybe don't pick up the phone right away. That's what I spend my first 15 minutes of the day doing a little prayer and meditation practice that just changes everything for me every single day. I'm amazed. I'm like, wow, this has such an impact on me. Um, but whatever it is that works for you, and quit tricking yourself that like, oh yeah, no, this is me time. This time I spend scrolling, or this time I spend playing Candy Crush or whatever. Like, this is my relaxing me time. Is it really relaxing?
Yeah.
Do you really feel refreshed at the end of that? I'm not sure that you do. Not in the same way that you do when you make something, or when you manage something, or when you handle something that's been bugging you for a long time, right? The antidote to
Yeah.
anxiety is action. So,
Mm-hmm.
and the more we human beings do things with our actual hands, the happier we are.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes prepping salad bar for yourself for the next 3 days. 15 minutes drawing, doodling, playing with Sculpey clay, tying flies. I don't care, whatever it is you want to do. This again, this sort of ripple effect. There's a thing you can buy actually on my website. It's called the Daily Practicum. And every weekday for 15 minutes, we get on the Zoom. It's at 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 Eastern, 5 British summertime. We get on the Zoom. Hello, start the timer for 15 minutes. 15 minutes later, timer goes off. And I'm telling you, Loretta, a gallery of faces looks up at me with this like post-orgasmic glow. They're like, oh my gosh, Sam, I did it. I did it. I made that phone call. I've been putting off that phone call for 6 weeks. I made that phone call. Sam,
Wow.
I did it. I wrote my friend. She just lost her husband and I didn't know what to say, but I grabbed the stationery and I just sent her something heartfelt, and now it's stamped and it's ready to go. And I'm going to walk down to the mailbox right now. Like these, I have this giant pile of paper on my desk and I moved from this giant to this giant. Like I cleared off this much. It's amazing, right? And now we start to get into something that's super helpful, especially for the ADHDs, the ADDs, the
Yeah.
neurospices of it all, right? Which is something called parallel play or body doubling. We do very well, again, as humans. We like to be in a group. We pick up group energy. If everybody else is working, we tend to work. Plus, it's on your calendar, plus you paid for it. So there's a certain level of investment, right? Um, and it's so funny to me. I've got people who subscribe and some people are there every day. Some people are there sometimes. Some people are never there in person, but the fact that they've paid for it and that it's on their calendar every day makes them do it at a different time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
find the structures that will support you in this.
Yeah. I love it. Well, we're going to take a little station break. And this is Loretta Brown. My guest today, Sam Bennett, the 15-minute method, the surprisingly simple art of getting it done. And while we take this little station break, just get it done. Go order the book right now. Sam Bennett, the
Audible,
15.
you like audiobooks? I did the narration myself. I hear good things. So
Yeah, you have a great voice. Please don't go away. We're going to come back and talk more about it. And I have a lot of questions. Yeah, this is brilliant. All right, we'll take a little station break. We'll be right back.
Okay, all clear. Did you know that Reiki healing can be done at a distance? It's true. So let Reiki Oasis focus powerful energy to help relieve your stress, grief, sadness, anger, and so much more. Convenient, personalized treatments at a distance can increase lightness of being. During your appointment, find a quiet place to lie down or sit to receive healing energies. If you want help with your dis-ease, Visit ReikiOasis.com. Harness life's energy. Visit ReikiOasis.com today.
Every person with a disability deserves equity in education, employment, and their community. Sherwood Community Services takes pride in serving all people with disabilities and their families since 1957, including in rural areas and non-native English-speaking communities. Sherwood provides service in Snohomish, Skagit, and Island counties. Sherwood is open for referrals for telehealth and virtual support for children and adults with disabilities. To find out more, visit sherwoodcs.org. Sherwood, believing in abilities.
Alternative Talk 1150 is your sports organization's safe bet when it comes to airing your team's games. Our players are all seasoned professionals when it comes to sports programming. Imagine your games being heard on local radio. Your team deserves the MVP treatment. Call 425-653-1150 today to learn how affordable and fun it is to broadcast your games on the radio. Call 425-653-1150 and make your next season something special. That's 425-653-1150.
Alternative Talk 1150, the talk of the sound.
Y'all ready to come back in? All right. Stand by here, ladies.
Here am I begging for only 5 minutes more, only 5 minutes more of your charm.
Oh, that's lovely, Betty. That was perfect. Thank you for that song. 5 minutes
We can
more.
close out with 60-minute man.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
totally. Yeah. Oh, 60
Solid.
minute man. There you go. Whoa, solid. Yeah, that's good. Anyway, welcome back to the original Loretta Brown Show with my amazing guest, Sam Bennett, author of the 15-Minute Method. I want to remind people these shows are archived, try to say that, right? At the archives for the original Loretta Brown Show at KKNW 1150 AM. We're also on iTunes, Podcast One, Spotify, X, Megaphone, YouTube, Audible. I know I left some things out, but we're all over the place. Please go and find the show and listen to it over and over. And of course, there's probably thousands of other shows since I've been on the radio for a while. We are talking about the 15-minute method. And just before the break, you were talking a little bit about, I'm going to say ADHD, the neurospicy people. And we also talked during the break a little bit more about the social media and the lack of concentration. And I just want you to comment on that a little bit more, because it appears to me that learning how to sit with something for 15 minutes might be more important than anybody knows.
I think
Right?
that's exactly right. And I often, sometimes people will say like, well, I don't even know where I would start. Like I've got so many ideas, or I've got a lot of projects I want to do. I don't know where to start. I say, great, make a list of all of them. And then every morning, just pick one, or maybe pick one and do it for a week and see how it feels, and or spend 15 minutes staring at a blank page. 15 minutes of enforced boredom never hurt a person. And when was the last time you spent 15 minutes staring at a page without reaching for your phone?
And can you do it? Can you do it? Can you be centered? Can you be still? Can you be quiet? Can you get up and do something with your hands? I almost look at it like stop your regular routine and try something different here. And also it's for you. I've got a question. In the 15 minutes that we're doing something, does it have to be something that needs to get done? Can it just be something we want to do? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like I have a list of 80 million things, but I want to draw circles on a page.
Yeah. My first choice would always be just something that brings you joy.
Okay.
Something that brings you joy. Sometimes joy is brought by relieving the pressure of, something that wouldn't necessarily be like, prepping my finances for taxes doesn't really feel joyful. On the other hand, stressing out for 3 months and then being in a panic the second week of April is also not joyful. So for me to spend 15 minutes a day, pardon me, working, keeping up with my finances so that come the beginning of the year, I'm all set and can send my stuff off early to my accountant. That in itself has a certain kind of joy. So it's really just for you. I will tell you, I have a secret fantasy.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
Because I've had, like I talk about in the book, I've had a million jobs. I've done everything. I was a barista, I was a whitewater river guide, I was an executive assistant, I worked as an actor, as a voiceover artist, all the things. But I never had a job in corporate America. And I always joke, like, I don't know what they do in those buildings. Like, I drive by, I feel like I can hear them crying. I don't know. But I read over and over and over again, I read about how in business, 77% of employees are disengaged. 77%? That's a lot. I mean, if somebody took 77% of your money, you would notice, right?
Wow.
If 77% of your friends, stopped calling you, you would notice. That's a lot. And so it occurs to me that a business could say, hey, employees, from now on, from 8:15 to 8:30 is your time, or from 4 to 4:15 is your time. Don't schedule meetings, don't do your email, don't make your dentist appointment, just do something that you like for you, in the confines of the office or whatever it is. I think that that's a very cheap and very easy way for a business to say,
Yeah.
hey, we get it that you're a person, and we want to make sure that you've got at least a sliver of time every day to enrich yourself as a person. So I think that would be cute. I think that's a fun idea. But it gets even better, because there's studies that show that if I show up in a meeting and if I just say, oh, hi, I'm Sam from sales, well, we'll have a certain kind of a meeting. But if I say, hi, I'm Sam from sales, and then I say something about myself personally, like, hi, I'm Sam from sales, and I spent my 15 minutes today working on a needlepoint project for my godchild that I started when she was born, and now she's graduating from high school, so I'm really looking forward to getting this done, right? I'm gonna have a better meeting. I'm gonna come up with new ideas, I'm gonna be more collaborative, I'm gonna be more innovative, because I have reminded myself of the fullness of myself, right? It's a little psychological trick, but very effective. And then what happens? Down at the end of the table is, Debbie from accounting, with whom I've never gotten along. I don't care for Debbie. But then Debbie says, hi, I'm Debbie from accounting, and I spent my 15 minutes doing cross stitch. Doing what? Well, now we're needlework pals, and we can talk embroidery floss. And, we have something in common now, and maybe I soften up on her a little bit. And you know what they call that? Engagement.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you get people engaged at work. You get them engaged with each other, because people are going to do a lot more for each other than they will ever do for a project or a paycheck.
Boy, that's true. And it also helps you humanize situations as opposed to dehumanizing them is rampant right now.
Exactly. And if I realize, oh, of course she does counted cross stitch, right? She's a detail-oriented, numbers-oriented person. Like, yes, I have more appreciation for the fullness of who she is. And maybe I don't take it so personally that she's always on me about my expense reports, right? So this is, this is how we make a peaceful world, is a greater appreciation of each other as human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much as human beings. And
So all of you out there, I
yeah.
want everybody, so go to if you have a small business, just try it. If you work in a bigger office or you run a team, just try it and then email me, let me know how it goes, because I'm super curious.
Yeah. That would be a really good thing. And put it on your calendar. If you manage people, maybe you can just build that into what it is that you're having them do. Okay, here's your 15 minutes.
Right.
I was also thinking that once upon a time at work, you got a 15-minute break in the morning and one in the afternoon, and you got at least half an hour for lunch, and everybody works through all that. That's non-existent. Whether or not you're supposed to do it or not, it's non-existent. I have clients who I do in-person and Zoom calls, but on Zoom calls, people quite often are eating their lunch during their session. And I'm like, oh my goodness, please eat your lunch. But
but it's
we're
a false
supposed
economy,
to be,
right? It's a
yes.
false economy to push through all that and to take 15
Yeah.
minutes and go sit outside with the sun on your face, take a 15-minute walk around the building, do 15 minutes of deep breathing, doodling, drawing, planning, designing your dream home. I don't know, again, whatever it is that delights you, these things refresh and restore the soul. And
Yeah.
again, you pushing through lunch and showing up tired and stressed out, that's not so fun. You taking 15 minutes for yourself and showing up refreshed and with a new, attitude, that's amazing. Do that.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm thinking about how this over a period of time, like I understand that people are going to run up against their resistance and their excuses at first. And then over a period of time, in my opinion, it helps you be able to center, to become present, to let something go, to do something enjoyable. I can't even like thumbs up you enough, because it changes your entire self, your physiology, your psychology, your spirituality, the whole thing. So that's kind of a broad word or a broad comment, but it's actually true. And that carries through with you. The heart math people have actually done studies, right? You're familiar with heart math.
Sure.
And, it only takes us 17 seconds of, being in what they call this, I'll call it the zone. We used to call it the zone. It only takes 17 seconds for your midbrain to begin to emit all your natural opiates, dopamine, serotonin, all that kind of stuff. And it will stay in your body for 5 to 6 hours. And the opposite is also true. 17 seconds of anger, of rage, of frustration, and this chronic anxiety, because you're talking about that, Sam. You're talking about all of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And again, for those of us with physical limitations, I mean, I talk about in the book, I've had long haul COVID for the last 2.5 years. My energy, my first book is called Get It Done. Like I was powered through, get the thing, cross it off the list, let's go. And I can't do that anymore. That's not available to me anymore. So I have to get really strategic about my 15 minutes. And I'm telling you that the majority of that book was written in 15-minute increments.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Talk to us a little bit about, you have a great chapter called What Your Excuses Really Mean.
Yeah.
Can you give us some examples? Yeah.
Yeah, there are some things that we habitually say. And I think it's always really valuable to look at the lines and stories that we repeat over and over again, because it's just habituated thinking, right? So it could withstand a little analysis. And sometimes there's sort of a safety net there. So for people to say like, oh, how's your book going? Or how's this going? And you go, well, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, now nobody's going to criticize you for trying to figure it out, right? That's a pretty safe thing to say. But in my experience, when somebody says, oh, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out, what that means is either I don't trust my own inner knowing, and or I'm not willing to ask someone smarter than me.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm so busy. My family needs me. My family needs me. My work needs me. My work needs me. Like, what does that actually mean? To me, that actually means it feels safer to me to put myself last.
Yes.
And that is an assumption. That is a belief worth examining. Because is it really safer? Who's losing out at the end of the day? Whose life is it? Right? We hear all those stories of the hospice studies, people in hospice, and their number one regret of the dying is, I wish I had done more of the things that I wanted to do and less of the things that I thought would make other people happy.
Yeah.
Because, newsflash, you do not have the power to make other people happy.
Yeah.
If only you did. We would all love that, but you don't.
Yeah. And that also brings to mind the list of, I've got my job and here's my 80 million things I have to do. The job is exactly the same thing that you just said. So whatever I want to do is constantly pushed to the bottom.
Right. Or I have an investment in busy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
mm-hmm.
and to realize like, sweetheart, you don't get bonus points for busy. Nobody cares how busy you are. They care how effective you are. They care what results you get, but nobody cares about busy. Right. And there's an inner drive to that. I mean, again, we're tribal animals. We want to be seen by the group as being productive and contributive and, happy and not needing and not overtaking and not selfish. But in my experience, people say you're selfish when you're not doing what they want you to do.
Ooh, oh, ouch. Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh. That's exactly right.
And
Yeah.
again, going back to that wagon wheel analogy, if you are not in the center of your life, what is?
Mm.
Next time somebody says self-centered, like, yes, I am centered in myself. Myself is in the center of my life.
That goes back to something you said earlier about connection. A lot of
Mm.
people come to me and they're like, I feel so empty. I'm so unfulfilled. I'm so busy. I'm so overwhelmed. Right. But on the inside, yeah.
Yes. And I mean, I live with depression and anxiety too. Like it's not all yippee skippy. Like, and I don't believe in saying that everything's okay when it's not okay. And I know that we often have more power than we allow ourselves to remember that we have.
Yeah.
I have a client who's been with me for years. She had moved to North Carolina to be with her mother in her mother's dying years. Eventually her mother passed, and now she has her mother's house filled to the brim with her mother's things. And she's dealing with the grief of her mom. She had uprooted herself from where she had been living near me in California. So she was feeling really, like you're saying, very adrift, very empty, very sad, depressed, grieving, out of sorts, not really knowing where to start. She started working with me on 15-minute method. And she thought, okay, I'll start in my mother's office. I'll start with her papers because she's got a ton of papers and that seems, but 15 minutes a day I can do. So she started 15 minutes a day of just sorting through her mom's stuff, shredding, throwing away, saving, whatever. And then she realized that her mom's record player and her albums were also in the office.
Oh.
So she started putting on an album. And she loves music, and her mother loved music. Like it sort of brought, and that also gave sort of a natural time thing because a side of an album is about 22 minutes or so. So now she's going from 15 to maybe 22 minutes. And then in going through the paper, she starts to make some real progress. And then she finds a box of her mother's old stationery.
Oh.
And it's that beautiful, heavy cotton paper, right, that they don't even make anymore. And she starts to write notes and letters to the people that she'd left behind in California, relatives and friends. Well, now she's got this correspondence, so she's got to walk down to the mailbox, which means she starts meeting the neighbors and their dogs and making friends with the mail carrier. And like this little task of, okay, I've got this whole house to clear out. I'm going to spend 15 minutes a day just shuffling through my mother's paper, turns into what ends up being her entire morning routine of sorting and music and writing and connecting with people and being outside and taking a walk. And and now she's joined a choir. And now there's this beautiful ripple effect. So don't worry that you don't know the end, right? Yeah. This is the other thing I love about 15-minute method is it hopscotches right over your perfectionism. Because how perfect is it going to be in 15 minutes? And you're going to do it again tomorrow. So,
Yeah. What is grumpy magic?
Grumpy magic is a technology that I actually explain in the book, but it's a little bit of a process. But mostly what I love about grumpy magic is it just reminds everyone, like, you do not have to be in a perfect frame of mind to create magic in your life. I notice that pessimists still make a lot of money. I notice that grumpy people still have happy marriages. I notice that people with low self-esteem still succeed. Like I love my brothers and sisters in the personal development industry, but there's a sort of oppressive optimism sometimes, right? Or what we sometimes refer to as toxic positivity, spiritual bypassing, right? Oh, it's love and light. It's all good. Everything happens for a reason. I don't know about that.
No, I don't either.
I don't know about that. I think everything happens. I notice that everything happens. And I notice that we get to decide what the reason is. But this idea that you have to be in some perfect mindset in order to achieve the life you want to have, I just want to dispel that notion. Like you can have a happier life starting right where you are. You don't need a better mindset or a better anything. You'll get there, or you won't. But we love grumpy people too.
I love that so much. I had to ask, but I'm with you because I'm in those realms and I get that spiritual bypassing thing, love and light thing, all butterflies. I'm like, no, sometimes things happen. Sometimes you're walking down a path and a scorpion jumps in the way. That's just what happens.
That's
Right.
right.
And
That's right.
that's it.
And it's not a judgment on you. It's not, you didn't do anything to deserve
Nope.
or not deserve.
Nope.
It's just things happen. People get sick. Tragedies occur. It's life. It's living. And if there's one thing I take comfort in, and maybe some of you out there can tell me if this is you too, I love the profound, benevolent indifference of nature.
Mm.
The trees don't care that I wrote a book. The whales don't care that my feelings got hurt the other day. The storms, the mountains, they're indifferent to my suffering. And I find that so calming. Like,
yeah.
when I look for truth, I look to the natural world, like what's real in the world, not what's real inside of my elaborate mental construct of things I would like to believe are real, the stories I tell myself about what's real, but what's really happening. And what's really happening is nature, life seeks life. Nature is just finding its way. And so maybe you can be a little less snappy, judgmental about yourself and everybody else, and give yourself time to flourish and grow a little bit.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 15 minutes.
Yeah. I love that. What do you, I know you work with people. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how to find you.
Yeah. So hop over to therealsambennett.com. And really what I'd love for you to do is whatever the opt-in is there, join my email list. Because first of all, I've won awards for my email marketing. People tell me all the time, like, Sam, I've unsubscribed from everything except you. So most people find being on my list to be a very pleasant experience. So, and especially if you yourself are an entrepreneur or interested in marketing, you might be interested to see how I do it. So plus, it's really the way I communicate. Like, I try to remember to post things on social media, but I don't always remember. And even so, social media goes by so fast, it's easy to miss. So hop on the email list, and then you can write me and tell me about your 15-minute project, and we'll be pen pals and best friends. It'll be great. So therealsambennett.com. You can also find me on the socials as at The Real Sam Bennett on all the socials. And yeah, and I would be deeply honored if you wanted to pick up the book or share it with a friend. It's I had a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun since it's been published. And I will say, in the spirit of true, deep authenticity, I did not love the experience of writing this book. I didn't think it was great while I was writing it. I did not have a great time editing this book.
No.
I was very skeptical about it. And then it wasn't until I was doing the audio version that I was like, you know what? I kind of love this book. And now the longer it's out, the more I'm like, you know what? I just picked it up the other day to reference something. I was like, this is really quite good.
Yeah, it is kind of fun. I have this thing that I do all the time where I will take a book also because you have this down in bite-sized chapters.
It's a very easy read.
And I'll just be like, okay, what do I need to look at? Right. So I just opened immediately to chapter 20. Does it hurt? I'm like, oh, I'll read that one. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a good one. That's from when I was working out. I was in this really elaborate workout and I was really suffering. And finally the trainer comes over to me and she goes, does it hurt or is it just hard?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow.
And
Yeah,
look how beautiful the universe is, because, I started out by saying, I started this exercise program. So there we are. So
Great.
Sam Bennett, it's been such a joy and delight to have you on the show today. The 15-minute method, the surprisingly simple art of getting it done. Sam Bennett, just get it right now. And once again, Sam, where's your website?
therealsambennett.com.
And one last word in 5 seconds or less.
Y'all are doing great. You look great. People love you. Thank goodness you're here.
Thank you. And to Mr. Benny Mathers, you're the very best. So everybody enjoy the week. Stay cool, stay calm, drink lots of water, and lots of love. See you next week.